So, welcome to DGRNI TV. We are here today with Professor Bas van Bavel from Utrecht University. He's an economic historian and also he received the Spinoza Prize, which is the highest scientific distinction in the Netherlands. And Professor van Bavel is here today to do a knowledge talk and also a workshop, I think. And as well, you come from a meeting, I think, with our Director General. So welcome.
Thank you.
And well, to start with, the research that is being carried out in our Utrecht, and in particular to the strategic theme of Institutions for Open Society, IOS, is receiving international attention. Why is that?
I think it's receiving attention because it's really a break with the traditional organization of a university. Universities are, as Utrecht University, organized in faculties and departments, which usually reflect disciplines. And some 10 years ago, we decided, in a joint effort, to change this from a disciplinary to a thematic angle. So all research at Utrecht University is now oriented along thematic lines. That is, oriented towards societal challenges. And this, I think, is a big breakaway from traditional research organization.
And what is innovative about the research being conducted?
I think this change allows to link up disciplines in a meaningful way. Of course, there are a lot of multidisciplinary collaborations, and this is growing and increasing over the years. I think a very good development. But I think really changing this whole organization of research helps a lot in making this effort really fruitful, where you can start out by identifying a societal problem, then analyze it, link it to empirical research, conceptualize it, then also think about policy implications, and then have a whole chain leading from problem to policy implementation. And this, I think, is really a step forward.
Okay. A bit more now, you mentioned it a bit, but I mean Utrecht is one of the oldest universities in the Netherlands. I found it was founded in 1636, I checked. How is this innovative research organized within the traditional university environment? You mentioned thematic, but tell me a bit more in detail.
Yeah, so people are still embedded in their faculties and departments. So you can think of it as a kind of a matrix structure where the formal organization is in faculties and departments, as in all universities, but actual research, and to an increasing extent also teaching, is organized along these thematic lines. So this requires a huge effort also of the university board members and the deans of the faculties, and to really support this development. And it requires, to make it very practical, also a huge investment, a substantial investment. Because if this investment is not there, then people will remain, because it's more comfortable, within their own discipline and their own department. So in order to stimulate this development, we have to continuously devote attention to it, energy, but also material funds. If you do so, and that is the good thing, then you will find that scholars are more engaged, become more, let's say, enthusiastic about the things they are doing, because they can see how this links up to addressing concrete societal challenges. So in the end, this will also enhance, let's say, intrinsic motivation and the pleasure we have in scholarship. And then also, the last thing I would like to mention, it also feeds back to academic quality. Because there may be a kind of a misconception that organizing research along these thematic lines or oriented towards societal challenges will decrease scientific quality, because scientific quality is found within disciplines. But I find this not to be the case. Of course, all collaboration is founded in disciplinary expertise, and this will remain. But by getting inspiration from people from other disciplines and working with best other scholars from other disciplines will also help you to make scientific advances. And I think this is also shown in success, for instance, in an ESC program we do have with our scholars. So I think this is, in all respects, a very fruitful endeavor.
So what are the challenges for integrating social sciences and the humanities, SSH as we call it, research, into other research disciplines? And how does this relate to setting up cross-sectoral research in the New Horizon Europe framework program?
Yeah, that is an important question. And because when we start out doing this, we're also looking where can we find a good, where can we land in a proper way? And that is also in programs like, for instance, a new framework program. So I can see that there are developments at the moment which I appreciate very much in Europe, thinking about a more mission-driven type of research. So this is something I value a lot, because I think this very much links up with the way we try to look at research making a societal impact, because that is in the end what it is about. Challenges are huge to integrate this, but I think we're making good progress. Well, I think there are two challenges. One of them is to integrate between the social sciences and humanities, because this was your question, with what is happening in biomedical sciences and technological sciences. This is one challenge. This requires, I think, mutual trust and respect for each other's expertise, but also an awareness that it is impossible to solve any challenge which may sound as a technological challenge without meaningfully integrating expertise from the social science and humanities. I think this has not been done up to now, to be honest. Not been done up to now in a meaningful way. This is my own personal perspective on it. But I can see that both for scholars from technology and biomedical sciences and for scholars from the social sciences and humanities, this has not been a rewarding effort. So we have to go to dig one layer deeper, I think. And to see, for instance, if you look at the energy transition, that the bottlenecks are not mainly technological, I think. And I think people from technological sciences, to an increasing extent, acknowledge this, that there is needed a change in behavior, changes in regulation, or bottlenecks in regulation, bottlenecks in interests, for instance, of large companies, of fossil fuel companies. How to solve this? This is the issue. And if we do not combine this expertise, we'll not succeed. Then there's a second thing, because there's not only technological or biomedical challenges, but also societal challenges. There's, for instance, populism or extremism. So this also requires to think about how will technological or biomedical or economic progress, how will this translate into well-being of people, of citizens in Europe. And this, I think, is the next challenge where we need to combine all expertise. And I'm looking forward to this. I think the coming years we will see nationally and in Europe, I think, in research a very big step forward. So I'm very optimistic about this.
Okay, good. What role can Utrecht and the IOS research play in understanding and analyzing societal problems? You already maybe mentioned some of it, but can you be more?
Okay, so I think the expertise we can offer, but can also be offered by people from other universities focusing on different challenges. And to be sure, I'm now talking about the Utrecht University, but I see very many positive, favorable developments at universities all over Europe, where people start to think more along thematic lines, and also to think where to focus on to build particular thematic profiles, which I think is a very good development. And to be sure, I'm just giving Utrecht University as an example because I know it best,
yes,
but I see many of these developments all over Europe. But I think then the main step forward is to start at an analysis of the problem. And to do this maybe not as scholars only, but to do this together with societal stakeholders. And so this is the next step we can take. And that is to hear from themselves, what do you perceive as the problem? And then together think about, is this really the problem or is something deeper underlying it? And to dig deeper together. In a process, I would label as a process of co-creation, where you involve all kinds of societal stakeholders and citizens in thinking about the issue, and then think about how to translate this into sound scholarship by developing hypotheses, which can be tested empirically, for instance, but also in thinking about how to evaluate outcomes. You have to measure outcomes, very important. We have to take big steps forward. Not thinking about measuring outcomes with one specific particular measure, because this measure will always show success. But that is not a good thing. No. So we have to measure outcomes and success in a more holistic or integrative way. But then also acknowledge that people will value outcomes in very different ways because of their own position, their own interest, their own societal context. And then if I mention all these things, you can already see that people from one discipline can never do this alone.
Yeah.
You need insights from sociology, from economics, political sciences, but also from ethics. You need the time dimension, that is history, to see changes over time. And to use history as a kind of a laboratory where you can test hypotheses developed in the social sciences. That is to integrate the social sciences and humanities.
Yeah, okay. And this research, can this help in inspiring policy making or meeting policy agendas? And what is the position of the researcher in this? How do you...
Yeah, this is a difficult issue, and we have to think a lot about it, because we have our own responsibility, and this responsibility does not overlap with the responsibility of a policymaker, let alone a politician. So we have to be very clear about this. This is what we do, this is our expertise. But what we can do is to make things transparent, to show outcomes, to show effects of policy. Then it is up to the policymaker, or in the end to the political arena, to make decisions, to make political decisions. But then they are based on insights we can offer, and we have to be as transparent and as open as possible about these, and to make them testable and debatable for the societal and the political debate. I don't know whether this is what you meant with your question.
No, but it's,
I think so. We have to do what we can do. But we have to offer possibilities, scenarios, and instruments. This is what we can do. We can enhance, enlarge the instrumentarium that policymakers do have, and open up views. But also show, if you choose this policy measure, then we can even follow up this in practice. I'm very much for empirical research, because then you can see a new policy measure as a kind of a natural experiment. You can see what is happening. But then you need sound measurement, integral measurement. Then you can see what is happening, and then this is a kind of a feedback also to policymakers, and then they can think about it. That is all we do, because then it stops. But this is important, because then you're closer to making really societal impact. And up to now we stop maybe too quickly at things we value ourselves, or of which we think, well, it is of course clear that this is a good direction or a bad direction, which is not good. We should make things open and transparent.
So
and then
further, okay.
Yeah.
And the solution for conducting more and better and relevant research, is the solution for this an increase in the budget, or are there other factors that play a role? I mean, is this all about money, or are there other factors?
Okay, yeah. Money is important. I have to be honest about it.
Yes.
Because it takes time. And in this sense, so if you perform research on your own individually, as in the past many scholars did, and within your own discipline, it's easier. It takes less time. So money is needed to help people to collaborate, to get to know each other, to learn to understand each other's language, disciplinary language. So this is one thing, that is where money is important. But the other thing is, we need a sound context, that is, for instance, in developing a new research framework where the right questions are posed. And questions that allow us to collaborate in a meaningful way. So I think needed is both.
Okay, thank you. And the last thing, you have come here today to DD Research and Innovation. What are your expectations in coming here? What do you expect to when you meet people and so on? What are your expectations?
I think twofold. One of them is sending, in a way. And that is in telling how we approach this challenge, because it's a big challenge, and how we organize this, and how we make progress in it. And I hope this will also inspire people over here. I really hope so. And then getting back is to understand from people how they are thinking about this and maybe struggling with it or finding ways, and also to better understand how it works at your end. Because in the end, it is the sending and the receiving, in the end we can only succeed when we bring the two worlds closer together. Because if what we are doing at the university is separated from what is happening over here, it will not work. And I guess also maybe the other way around. So I hope we will meet each other somewhere in the middle and stimulate each other to make progress. I'm optimistic about this and looking forward to it.
Okay, excellent. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
And that's all for RNI TV this time. See you soon again. Thank you.